You are listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast with your friend, host, all-around good guy, Paul Valverde. Now, on to the show.
What's shaking, New Jersey? Thank you for joining me for another episode of the New Jersey Business Podcast. Today, as special guest, we have CEO of Virtual With Us and Culture With Us, Alexandra Schrecengost. Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm so excited about today's episode. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Alex, will you please begin by telling our audience about yourself? I know you're a New Jersey resident, and that is awesome because this is the New Jersey Business Podcast. We highlight the rock stars in New Jersey. So please share with us something about yourself.
Absolutely. So I am a New Jersey resident. I've been here since I was 6 years old. I came from Puerto Rico, lived in Bergen County, and now we live in Essex County as a family. My husband and I have identical twin boys, and they're in school here. So we're heavily involved with the New Jersey community overall, but specifically in Essex. And I'm just excited to be a representative of a small business in New Jersey. We work with a lot of other small businesses here in this state. So it's super cool to be on this podcast today.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I got to tell you, I'm super excited because of the services that you provide and how you help other businesses. Before we get into that, would you please tell us a little bit about how the idea of Virtual With Us and Culture With Us came about?
Absolutely. So, with Virtual With Us, it was 2020. I was in corporate America as head of communications at a wine importer in the city, Wilson Daniels. And I started to see a lot of my friends that were sommeliers on the floor, and they were furloughed. And I had been going to school with them and traveling with them. I have my diploma degree from the wine WSET program. And so I'd spent a lot of time with them, really learning their craft and seeing what they do. And it was incredible. And they didn't have work anymore. And on top of that, my husband, who was in tech sales, was struggling with maintaining his professional contacts. How do I maintain relationships? How do I have a connection with people that I've never met? And so I took those two problems, and on my couch was brainstorming here in New Jersey and just trying to figure out, what could we potentially do? And a lot of people were going the route of super educational classroom setup where they would do Zooms and dive into the terroir and the soil. But I started to see that a lot of the, companies, the larger enterprise corporations, they wanted to socialize and they wanted to really build on those connections. And that's what they were missing. So I launched the business. I asked the sommeliers to come in as contractors, and they host cocktail party-esque type events. And we started just with wine tastings, and then it evolved to something quite larger. And, we started doing mixology and beer tastings and spirit tastings and cooking classes and, bring your kids into the kitchen and all of these different types of things that really, one, involved their families because everybody was home, and two, allowed for that socialization and that interaction and the connection that you need in a business setting. And as things evolved throughout the last year, we launched Culture With Us, and that is the in-person component. We also do hybrid events, retreats, and we do corporate gifting. And the mission around that is to really support culture. Diversity, inclusion, equitability in the workplace, and really helping large enterprise corporations that have distributed workforces. These companies have always had teams all over the world, even before the pandemic, where they didn't necessarily always work in the same office. And I thought, well, why not find a way for them all to connect and continue to connect where it's not awkward? And so I started speaking to different clients, and I said, well, what did you used to do before? And they said, well, nothing really. We would just have a webinar or a phone call and chat. But there wasn't any connection with, your one colleague in Chicago versus a colleague in London versus New York. And so this allowed for that too, where we were able to utilize the talents of the network, the sommelier, the chefs, the cicerones, the mixologists, and we continue to do so in a way that builds culture. shows that the employee is valued, they're appreciated, they're honored, and they're celebrated. And we have cultural moments too. So we do Women's History Month celebrations, Black History Month, Asian American Pacific Islander, Pride awareness, you name it. And it's allowed for us to really expand and educate around diversity and diverse think versus groupthink in an organization. So
You know what?
that's what we're doing.
I love the fact. Thank you so much. I love the fact that you were sitting on your couch, right? Very entrepreneurial, right? A dream of a dream vision, and you realized there was a problem, right? And you had a solution to that problem, and that is so important. I talk to people who have the desire sometimes to start a business, but they don't know. They just want to get into something. They don't know what they're going to get into, and they don't realize that a true business, a true service is when you provide a solution to a problem. So I think it's so awesome that you were able to identify a problem and you were able to identify a solution to a problem. And not only something, it may have come up during a the pandemic, but this is an ongoing need because of the scenarios you mentioned. There are companies that are national, international, and you want the team, you want the culture to be formed amongst the different members of the company.
Absolutely.
Something that is incredibly important, I believe, is for people to actually enjoy their place of work, right? And I think it's so silly. I've talked to business owners sometimes, and even CEOs who would say, I'd rather my people just come, clock in, clock out, and go home. And I don't think it's good for them to socialize. But that's such a wrong mindset, because when you allow culture to be formed within the place of work, then what you have is people enjoying themselves, because now they're working happy, they're working with people who actually become true friends right outside of the place of work.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you make that possible. You facilitate, that team building experience where you actually feel part of something, not just, a number or another person, right?
Exactly.
I think that's so awesome. I got
Thank
to
you.
tell you now, I'm intrigued to know, like what is the process like when people reach out to you and they're interested and they tell you, we want to do something for our team, for our employees. Like, what is the process you go through in order to assess, plan, and then fulfill their need?
Absolutely. So we do everything white glove service. Hospitality is a big thing for us, obviously, because that's our background. So they'll essentially get in touch with our concierge team, our sales team, and they'll take the initial order. What experience are you looking for? Would you like a wine tasting? Would you like to do bingo? Would you like to do a virtual escape room, or cook together as a team and incorporate your families too? So we'll kind of chat with that lead who's the buyer on the corporation side and determine what the personality of the team is to really figure out ideas. And then once that takes place, we work to coordinate all of the logistics and details. And the unique thing about our service is that we support global. So no matter where the team is, if we have, customers here in New Jersey and there's 20 people here, but then they're like, listen, there's a few people in the UK, there's a few people in Asia, all of those people will receive the same thing to an extent. Obviously, they'll get something that's comparable in their market, if, from a wine perspective or certain food items, but they'll have the same experience and they'll get to open up that gift box and say, wow, this is super cool. This came from my employer and I get to join in on this event. And then we do everything in terms of setting up the calendar and the Zoom or the Teams, whatever they're looking for specifically. And then we have our hosts that are really shining a light and making it interactive and fun. And they'll jump on and it's experiential. And on the side of the customer side, really all they provide to us are the mailing addresses, the names of the people, and the custom note that they would want. So we ensure that there's a note in there so everybody knows where it's from. And our team on the back end handles all of the white glove service, the tracking, ensuring packages arrive if they don't, troubleshooting, and then wrapping things up at the end of the event to make sure, did you have a great time? what could we have improved? What did you love? And then obviously procuring testimonials wherever we can. So that's really the experience overall. And we've had such wonderful feedback from different teams where they were like, thank you so much. My team member was never able to get anything before because they don't live near us. And you allowed us to have them participate. And that was really special. And that's really, really what is important to me, is making sure that everyone feels valued and connected, and that there's not someone out on an island just because they don't live in the same location.
Right, right. Oh man, that's it's so inclusive. I love the concept. And now uh I'm wondering, obviously you have a system in place that allows you to coordinate all the moving pieces. I'm assuming you have a combination of employees, independent contractors, people who are working with you. Will you please share with our audience a little bit about your talent or employee attraction systems?
Absolutely. So, when I first started the company, I had one employee. She's still my employee, and I'm so excited to have her along for the ride, Sue. But a lot of the full-time employees that came in were furloughed. They were working in hospitality, whether they were doing events and sales in banquet halls or restaurants or venues, to they were working on the back end and dealing with logistics. And then obviously the sommeliers, who are our contractors, chefs, mixologists. A lot of them came in and they were excited to be able to work with us, and that we found a way for them to work from home. Some of them have families and they have long hours in the restaurant as it is. So it gives them a bit of flexibility to have that work-life balance that they may not typically have if they were full-time wherever they used to be. So our talent pool is really excited to be a part of this company because of the culture. It's something that's ever evolving. We're a startup, so it's going to continue to grow, and I'm excited to see what it looks like in a few years. But it's very clear that it's very special, and that we're all one team. We all jump in. Even as the CEO, I'm there tracking. I'm there supporting the customers, and everyone knows that they can openly ask or say, I'm struggling with something. I'm not sure how to do this. And I have a very open door policy because my team is all over the country. It's okay to call me and tell me, you know what, Alex, I'm a little confused about this, or I'm not sure that we should do it this way. I have a suggestion. And I think that's the culture that the people, at least that are on my team, want. So those are the full-time employees that have come. And even on the contractor side, we work flexibly with them, where it's like, okay, tell me what your schedule is at your restaurant, and we'll work around that if you want to continue to support and contribute here. And they do. They've been really excited to do so. And it has provided that balance where it's like, okay, I'm going to work at the restaurant 3 days a week now that things are open back up, but I want to work from home twice a week. And I'll do, 3 tastings during those times, or 4 or 6. So I believe, that the teams that want to come here want the flexibility, want the trust, want the strong culture. We get together as a team in person twice a year. So we collaborate and bring everything together full circle. I had the whole team here in New Jersey back in March. And it was really just a time to, one, hug each other and say thank you, but also, hey, let's brainstorm. Let's see what the rest of the year looks like and what ideas can come forth. So, I'm really much about diverse think. And I believe strongly that having people from different backgrounds and in different areas really do provide that diversity and allow us to think on a larger scale to better support culture.
You know what? I know that there are people listening to us, right? Who are hearing you talk about what's going on within your company, and they're like, I would like to be a part of that. I would like to be a member of that team. And folks, for those of you who are listening, that's the way you want to structure your business, right? You want
Thank
it to
you.
be appealing. You want it to be attractive. You want people to want to be a part of it. I'm sure there's people who may not have any experience in hospitality or any of that stuff, and it's like, man, I wonder if there is a position for me in there, just because I want to be part of such a cool group of people. Alex, I really, really admire what you have put together. I admire
Thank you.
the growth that you've experienced in such a short amount of time. I think that's so encouraging to our listeners. A good portion of our listeners are entrepreneurs, are people who are starting, and oftentimes what I hear from them is they grow disheartened, they grow discouraged, they feel alone because they're struggling, and to hear from someone who's crushing it, right, and is crushing it, so happy, so joyous, because it's not just about being profitable, it's about being profitable and happy, right? You got to enjoy what you're
Yes.
doing. Alex, I love what you're doing. I'm also intrigued to know, how is it that you attract your clients? How is it that you bring these people to you who have those problems so that you could solve them?
Well, there's twofold. So at the beginning, it was a lot of, the network that my husband and I had. We reached out to former customers and people that I used to do public relations for. And then as we started to grow, we are uniquely positioned to support enterprise corporations with distributed workforces. And a lot of people struggle with having inconsistent vendors, and they're working with, not as good quality products, and just kind of scrambling to put things together. And we work with small businesses around the globe. And that's really our moral and our mission, is to to essentially represent BIPOC and women-owned businesses in New Jersey included. And so I think people also love the narrative. So the unique position of being able to support them no matter where they are, and to be able to have the team do what they do every day in terms of troubleshooting and ensuring packages arrive, and really providing that extra love and care to the customers, which is so important to them, and showing that we are an extension arm for them. We're their support system. So we do attract a lot of customers that way, because we've seen, we'll do one event and there'll be other corporations on that one event, and they're like, wow, who did this event? This was beautifully executed, and I felt like you cared about me and my package. And it really is that extra little touch that has brought in customers and has kept our customers from the beginning. And we've had such wonderful consistency and growth, and it's really exciting to see that they trust us, and we continue to work every day to evolve our quality. And then we also want to tell the story of the incredible products that are in our boxes. And here in New Jersey, we work with Two Chicks with Chocolate, for example. So mother-daughter owned chocolatier, and we put their bonbons in a lot of our boxes. People always want dessert. And so they love hearing that story. So those three aspects of it really have the customers coming back saying, we trust you, we love your products, and we want to work with you on an ongoing basis.
Alex, thank you so much for sharing about virtual with us, culture with us. I mean, I'm in love with your business. I'm in love with what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I'm sure that people who are listening to this are in their mind visualizing their team members, co-workers. I mean, I'm visualizing people receiving those because you feel so good when you receive like a package and unboxing that package. It's just, I think the whole experience from beginning to end is got to be so thrilling, so exciting. I'm really, really happy for you and for what you're doing, for what you've accomplished so far. And I'm in expectancy to see the great things that you have ahead of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out our cheese and charcuterie partner, Marcelli, who's in Clifton, New Jersey as well, because they help make a lot of the boxes happen. And again, another small business. And I really appreciate your support. And I'm excited to continue working with New Jersey small businesses and showing everyone in the world our products, and working with these corporations to build culture, because it's very important.
There you have it, folks. Virtual with us, culture with us. We're going to link all of the information in the show notes as well as in our social media. Make sure you reach out to them so that you have the best experience you could ever provide to your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, go to NewJerseyBusinessPodcast.com. That's NewJerseyBusinessPodcast.com. We can't wait to hear from you and your business. You can also visit our website to learn about sponsorship opportunities and how to qualify for a complimentary gift. Thanks again for listening to the New Jersey Business Podcast.